Coming up next on K100 is Matt Kuhn, who's here to discuss his AEW predictions 1 year later.
So let me ask you a real question. I've kind of lost track of you, but what are you doing now?
So I do have a podcast, but it's not a wrestling podcast. But in wrestling, recently I've been doing songs. So FTR's song is my song. Right. So if you watch FTR wrestle, you see me sing and play. And then Deonna Purrazzo's song on Impact is mine as well. So I stopped doing, podcasts to work on music, and then I got those two songs in during the quarantine, and so things are going pretty good in that way.
Let me put over your
trolls. I'm
gonna give Matt a great compliment here. Okay, the FTR song. All right, tonight it was going head to head with the Undisputed Era song. Okay, and then Undisputed Era has a great ring entrance song and everything like that.
Fantastic.
I was clicking back and forth because your song didn't sound like inferior to their song.
Oh, that's nice.
It sounded like it sounded like
that might be the only nice thing he says. So
I'm just clicking back and forth, watching their entrances and everything. But Undisputed Era is a really good song for their entrance. I don't know if you really noticed it. They do. It's like, wow, I didn't really realize it's that good, because I didn't.
It's a lot of effort because I don't have a pro studio. I recorded it right here, which is kind of my studio. But Dawson and Dash had a lot of input into it, and so I got to thank them. I mean, they really, especially Dax or Scott Dawson, David Harwood, he really kind of heard the Arn theme, and we were friendly, and he had me do it. And even though AEW wasn't exactly anxious to have somebody else do their song, like they were like, this is part of our deal. And that was just super cool though.
Did you write the lyrics, or did they help you with the lyrics, or
no? I just thought it was like an interesting outside idea, right? So I just did it, and I said, you guys might think this is stupid, like wait until dawn to all that and then no, they're like, we love it, we want it sooner in the song. I had it like buried in the song, like like maybe you'd hear it at the minute and 10-second mark, but they wanted it like up at like 20 seconds. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Okay, so we brought you on last year.
Joe does pole dancing to that song, but go ahead.
I know word for word.
We had you on, I believe it's the week before AEW started, right? Dynamite?
No, after the first week.
After the first week.
It's been a year, wow.
We're to your anniversary. Okay, we had discussions about what we thought would happen and everything. And we got a couple clips that we played and stuff, and So first of all, well, no, this fight. It's not. We're not. It's not burying you.
We're not enamored.
No. I'm just curious as to what I said.
We're all discussing what we were correct and wrong on.
Well, we all said something.
This is an open criticism camp, but we had you on. Sure. So next year at this time, we're going to be. These shows are going to be benchmarks. If wrestling does change, we can look back at these episodes year to year to year and see what happened. All right, which is not a bad idea, right? Okay, so first of all, you said. You thought that the AEW bring the kids in. Play that clip.
Focus and also I saw the fans and I saw my son's reaction. My son's 17, and the business changes. Any business changes, and Disco not seeing these guys are cool is in a way what makes them cool. Like Orange Cassidy's not for me. The Young Bucks are not for me, but I can see that this is a different kind of wrestling that appeals to a new kind of fan. And I'm not so concerned with bringing in the casuals. I think it's more about them bringing in new fans. And
wait a second. I can't disagree with you more. How are they, bro? Wrestling is not bringing in new fans. And we have a 15-year model of them not bringing in new fans. The median age is going up every year, which means less new fans are coming in, and all the fans are the ones that are still, and they're just getting older.
Did you see the demos? Did you see the demos for the AEW show?
I did.
That's what I was just going to say.
So I'm not saying the fans are increasing. I'm saying I've seen indicators that it's going to happen with this particular group, like
the younger fans.
Okay, that's okay. So So you weren't wrong. You weren't wrong there. Okay, because AEW has not gotten casual fans yet, right? And I think we can agree that they're not. I mean, it's just like even Meltzer said, it has their fan base, which is their fan base, and it's been pretty consistent. What do you think about how would you let's hear this just basically? How would you rate AEW's first year?
Well, to the point that I made a year ago, I will say that they have not brought in new fans. Like that has not happened, but when you look at the age of the fans, like in the demos, I know demos are now a thing. There have been times where AEW has gotten more people in 18 through 49 than Raw or SmackDown have. So they're doing well in that regard. They have not brought in the new fans the way that I thought that they could or would. But I also think it's their first year. But as far as how I think they did their first year, how do you measure success? A lot of people, myself included, owning a business, I say if you make a profit in this business, a business where I don't think ECW ever made a profit, I think WCW made a profit 1 year. Almost every company in America, at least in existence, has gone out of business. To be profitable in their first year, I think it's got to be called a success in that regard.
I think WCW had 4. I think it was 95, 96, 97, 98, and then 99 it started going down. But TNA had only, 1 year profitable maybe? You guys know? I think it was one year.
Maybe a couple, but we were programming on their network. We weren't really a company. It's like that was a difference. We're part of Turner Network programming. It's not like we were It's not like we were a privately owned company like like Vince and AEW had.
So let me ask you,
TV network. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Disco, the same question you asked Matt. What would you give them on their first year, and then I'll answer after you.
I would say that basically they about what I expected. We have this wrestling audience. I'm disappointed that nobody talks about, and the fact that there was the high water mark for shows before this period started, right? Was on SmackDown was doing around 2.7 million people. Okay, Raw was doing around 2.2 million. All right, so we thought this boom period would start coming, and we would start attracting new fans. All right, so here we go. The first month of the wrestling boom comes back. AEW and NXT now are going head to head. They draw a combined 2.4 million people on Wednesday night. Okay, arguably right up there with, or was it maybe 2.3? Arguably right up there with Raw, combined for the night, and lower than SmackDown. Within the first month, all of those shows had lost like 20% of the fans. And I just think that when we're trying to get new fans, I look at the product that's on TV, I look at what the guys are doing in the ring compared to what like we used to do, and I just think that AEW has a type of product where it's just based on wrestling acrobatics and just the stuff and everything. I don't think new fans are attracted to this stuff, and I don't know how long we can give this type of like work, which is what people. And that's what I think is happening. So.
Well, if the question is, can they run a profitable business with the fan base that they have now?
I heard they're going to lose money. I heard they're in this to lose money. I don't know. I don't know the veracity of these things that I read, but I'm reading stuff where they're supposed to lose money. But if that, why would they want to lose money?
Where they were prepared to lose money for 5 years.
Prepared to lose money for 5, I guess. I don't know, but I mean,
because maybe most companies of that size, that's an honest assessment. You're going to lose money.
I don't care about the profitability.
Yeah.
The profitability. I don't care about how they do. I care about, does the business grow?
Okay,
to more people?
This is what I was gonna say. So I think that we first got to figure out, is this a profitable business for them with 800,000 to 900,000 viewers? Because we have seen a couple things. They got a really good contract. Nobody's been able to do that in about 20 years. And they've been able to get some big names. Now the thing is, those 800 fans, they got to build on that, because that's basically what's watching them. But we have seen them sell out the Sears thing or whatever they went in Chicago in like 10 minutes. We've seen them, their fan base. They do have a fan base, and they are profitable. Right. The things that have driven. So I think they are successful for their first year. They are successful for sure. But some of the things that were driving me crazy was like, not a big fan of their women's division. There's a lot better women out there, and they be having a lot better women's matches, and I'm a big fan of women's matches. The other thing is, a lot of their booking drives me crazy, and I understand their first year in the business and the inherent problems that come with it, and booking is not easy. Everybody thinks it is until you're doing it. So, I give them a pass on that. I just think what they're trying to give Matt and Di and Joe is like an alternative wrestling product. They just don't want to be like WWE, and they do like a lot of stuff that's for like the nerdy, like the nerds, cosplayer, the gamers, or as Tony would call them, video gamers. But I think they're doing good for their first year. Very good.
So what do we think? We had a discussion over ratings last time. The Joe play that.
Oh, I was definitely wrong here.
There's a shorter one before that, I think. Let me see here.
Few people watch wrestling today. Okay, on Wednesday night, Wrestling War started. 2.3 million people were watching the shows. Okay, that's a very, very low number for 2 shows. That's not a lot of people. Okay, and to put things into context, 2 million people were watching Impact back in 2011.
Yeah.
During a period of time, it was like, this company's nothing, it's everything, all that.
Yeah.
So
there's another one after this.
Okay.
He's the outlier on that, and I know it's something you don't get.
But there's not enough guys to do that right now.
To me, AEW is the outlier on that, and I know it's something you don't get. Like I get you don't get it because they are not larger than life. Because the wrestling business and society has changed. Kids today, right? Kids today don't want bullshit. They see through it. We're talking about kids who have had access to pornography their entire lives. Like this is a whole different set than we're used to. These kids see through adults that act a certain way. They want people that are accessible. They want people who are self-aware. They want people like them. You have people like Cody and the Bucks and Omega who embrace nerd culture, embrace who they are. Darby Allin embraces the skateboard culture. They're not pretending to be anything different. They're not pretending to be bigger than life. Like a Hulk Hogan right now wouldn't appeal to these kids. And you're right about the bubble. But to me, Russo had it wrong. Russo was always like, we want to catch the people while they're flipping channels. For me, it's always people told their friends. Dude, wrestling's kind of cool. There's this guy, Steve Austin, on TV now, and he's cool. There's this group called the NWO, and they're running roughshod. You know, you should check this out. And I could almost bet money that's what's going to happen with this AEW because they have tapped into something that's not for me. I'm 47. It's not for you. Even as a wrestling observer who has all this history, it's for the culture that exists right now. And that's what I saw. As soon as I saw it, I was like, boom, these kids got it. And by the kids, I mean the Bucks and them.
So
I would like to argue with myself right now.
All right, go ahead. So what do you think about it? Do you think of retrospect?
I will.
Well, just there's a question with this.
In retrospect,
well, no, retrospect. I
think this is
when he says like when
Sure.
you talk about the characters need to be larger than life. Do you think that is a detriment in retrospect to not having characters larger than life?
No, I think they did not. A mistake I think we can all agree they made was not letting the elite shine more. I mean, Cody for sure gets his moment, but to treat the Bucks as this team that isn't winning these matches every week, you know, the Bucks are the ones who got this groundswell underneath them. To treat Kenny Omega as not special and have him as a tag team, you know, that could be something that's arguable as well. I think they were, you know, a lot of people push back against this, their selfless thing. But really, when you look at the elite themselves, especially the Bucks and Kenny, I think they could have done more to highlight those guys. And at the time, I was expecting Marty Scurll to come in. A lot has changed since then as well. But I think those particular guys could have hit a little more if they were a little more assertive about, hey,
Can we just give honest criticism? I know exactly what you're saying. You don't want to see the Bucks and Kenny Omega out there as kind of underneath type characters, which is what they are, dressing like they don't even care to show up for work, just wearing tank tops. It's like, I'm saying, even Kenny Omega. It's like these guys. When we talk about all elite wrestling was coming to television, fans that are listening about this and may want to be new fans are hearing this and looking at, assuming there's these incredible superstars coming. And these guys all showed up, and they're just wearing their T-shirts and their shorts and stuff and everything. And like people that are like want to know what's going on here is like, you know, are like I said, are they being presented like they're advertised?
I think the problem is getting back to Matt's point, which is a valid one, is that you know they like to dress how they actually dress. They don't want to dress up nice. They dress up casual, bro. They're two guys from LA and another laid back guy that might as well be from LA. You know what I'm saying? That's how they dress in real life. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody needs to be in a suit, and so that's but getting to Glenn's point, I think you won't disagree with this, Matt. I just think Kenny and Young Bucks have been way too unselfish, much to their own detriment.
For sure. Show me what's special about these guys. Like, show me there is something about the Bucks. Like the Bucks were able to turn out a WWE contract because they had enough indie money years ago. So show me what's special about these guys. Show me what's special about Kenny.
Perfect example.
Right.
Kenny May comes in. He comes in dressed like the cleaner. He's one of the top one or two contenders of the number one contender, and he's at the top with Moxley, you know, Cody, and Jericho. But he came in like underneath and stuff and everything, and not like wanting to be part of that tier. And it's like you lost a top tier talent because he treated himself like a mid tier talent.
Yeah, and he
did. I think that's a mistake they made.
He did
maybe because they want to hang on. Maybe because they want, you know, they don't want the perception that they're pushing themselves when they should have been pushing themselves, which is why this is a very difficult job to do. You know.
What do you want to say?
By the way,
yeah, I was gonna say he did lose to Moxley early on. It might have even been the first or second pay-per-view. So maybe in their mind at this point, it was like, all right, we're gonna have you're gonna have to lose this big match early, but then we'll rebuild you through the next year. You'll come back in as a big tag team thing, and now obviously their tournament's probably gonna lead to Omega versus Page. So now now they're gonna start showing Kenny the way that everybody on this call seems to want to see.
Thanks. A year later, now you have to rehabilitate the fucking guy because you didn't do it right the first time, just like they do with Brody Lee and so many other guys. Yeah, and that's like one of their problems. But like I said, Matt, booking is not easy, you know.
Oh,
and you can't please everybody either.
Yeah. It's a refreshing thing, though, to see mistakes being done out of the right reasons, unselfishly, right? We've seen mistakes before because a guy wanted, years guys booked themselves on top. But these guys, even, Tony Khan being the booker, being the main guy, gets a lot of criticism. And as you say, it's hard. And we can point to this or that or this or that, but the fact the guy's never been in gorilla position before, never written a line of TV before, you got to give him credit for not just making a farce of the whole thing and destroying the company. He's obviously got a learning curve, but I think, I think there's something there.
Definitely.
So who are some of the talent that you, so I think we had a clip of some of the talent you were touting beforehand. We'll see where you are with those guys. I think you weren't wrong here.
NXT on Wednesday, because what's going to happen?
This is the
play the clip for the talent.
Well, no, that was the one before where he talked about the Bucks and how
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then.
So this one is.
As I say, well, you just had your riff on that.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the? How did he say AEW do against WWE program?
Yep.
What happen is with SmackDown being the number one show by putting NXT on Wednesday, because what's going to happen is with SmackDown being the number one show, Raw being this 3-hour bore, less people are going to, if we're talking about the bubble, less people are going to watch Raw for sure. More people are going to watch NXT. NXT is a better product. It really is. It doesn't have the stars yet, but all the things you talked about earlier about listening to the fans, putting things together that make sense, NXT does that. And NXT has been a product that is also growing. And by WWE putting NXT up against AEW, on Wednesdays, I think we're going to see that war, and I think we're going to see Raw really suffer. And I don't think SmackDown's going to do that great as well.
I'm going to disagree with the Raw suffering.
Okay, let's play out.
The strength of the fight.
So no, you weren't. So you weren't wrong. Matt, you weren't wrong.
Yeah, but I will say I was wrong about NXT because NXT changed, right?
Right.
NXT is not the NXT that a lot of people kind of fell in love with. NXT became more homogenized, more like the rest of the product. And I think if they would have, I knew Vince, I always joked we'd see Roman on NXT within a week, right? But we saw Charlotte, we saw other people. They really changed the product instead of keeping it special, which I think was a mistake.
Well, here's where you're absolutely right. Me and Konnan, when we review these shows each week, you were absolutely right that the NXT product is the best WWE product they have, like with the work and stuff and everything. We think it's the best product on all four shows right now because of like what they have to work with and what they do in the produce and just seeing the work down there, how there's more of attention to detail. But
the work rate, the thing is, the work rate's still fantastic, bro. Excellent. And that makes a big difference to me,
And I didn't really notice that until I started watching these shows, because like until the Wednesday Night War started, I was not a watcher of NXT, and that's one thing I've noticed about NXT. What I do find weird is that the Wednesday night is not the night, because I think AEW has a certain fan base, but the product they put on NXT is a good product. And I think that the only thing it suffers from is the fact that people turn it on and you have a lot of star power in AEW compared to NXT, because you got Jericho, you got all these guys, is that they turn on the show and they just don't really know who a lot of these people are.
I wondered, Matt, with the plethora of stars that WWE has and its resources, why they don't pack more stars on NXT to take away viewers from AEW.
Sorry about that. I was muted.
Yeah.
I think that they tried a couple times and it didn't, like when they had Charlotte on, and it didn't make a difference the way they wanted it to. I'll say one thing that NXT suffers from, the production's amazing, right? But the visual, even before the COVID, was just not as exciting as a live crowd in a big stadium. And even when COVID hit, the difference between, the bubble in WWE versus that Daily's place, I think it makes a difference. I really do. As far as new people.
It does, but I get so into the work rate, and almost all of them can cut a promo, and almost all the girls are really good. So I'm like really into their product. You know what I'm saying? And WWE, even though a year ago it really did suck, like you said, they've got like 3 or 4 storylines that we like a lot. We like the Roman storyline. Have you been following that? That's incredible.
It's the best thing. It's the best thing in WWE in a long time.
Yes,
the Roman thing.
The Fiend with Alexa Bliss is fire, and I know you have to brace for corny lines and but if you took all the corny lines out, the with Mysterio and Seth is very good too, and Buddy Murphy.
Yeah. What? Okay, so let's talk about what's the next year hold for AEW. What do you think?
One thing I'd like to say, just before not to steer the conversation, if I have a criticism about AEW, and this is not criticizing anybody in particular, but I would like to see everything, NXT and AEW, a little bit safer. Just a little bit. Let's go ahead and cut down on some of the risk versus reward, like your boy Ray Phoenix, with that big flop off the top, that springboard. Darby taking that coffin bump on this ramp.
Bro, that could have really been ugly. And bro, I don't know. We actually
who's that for? It's no good.
And here's the other thing that's a pain in the ass, and we always pop because we've seen guys just miss it and land on it. Those fucking stairs that were right before right when you step outside of the ring, we've seen so many guys.
Oh, that first step. First step on the stage behind the ring.
Darby Allin when he was in the body bag, whoosh, right onto the steps.
Yeah, that's the one I remember. But a lot of the Darby stuff, like Darby's that age, we all know kids that don't know that the future is coming, and he seems to be one of those guys. And I wish somebody would get a hold of him and say, dude, like seriously, you got a big future, you really do, but you got to stop with that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the future.
That's like telling a wild horse not to be wild. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So let's talk about
DNA. Go ahead.
Let's talk about the future. Next year at this time, you put where do you see certain guys? Like where do you see Darby Allin? Where do you see Orange Cassidy? Where do you see Jericho? Where do you see MJF?
I think they've done they did a really great job of holding off the Orange Cassidy thing until the Pac match. But now they got to kind of reset it. And I think they should let Orange Cassidy not wrestle for a while and reset the whole thing. I'm not sure where he'll be. I think the big guy that they're really going to push is Jungle Boy. I see a lot. Every time I see him wrestle, he's better. Every single time I see him wrestle, he's better.
He's working out more too, you can tell.
Yeah.
He's putting a little more side
and then he's got like that X factor. There's something about him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
He's got some star charisma there. Go ahead.
MJF is, as Disco and I were talking on Twitter about how it's kind of obvious he's going to take over the Inner Circle. I'd love for him to get like a little test babyface run like The Rock did and then turn back heel, like not necessarily pander to the crowd, but maybe the Inner Circle turns on him and he gets a chance to kind of run to the ring and, be cheered. But then at the same time, he's really a heel the whole time. But MJF will probably be a champion a year from now, the world champion.
I just think when Chris turns babyface, since the people already sing his song, he's going to be mega over. I just wish as a heel, he'd grab the mic and tell everybody to shut the up. You know what I'm saying? To get some heat, But go ahead.
Well, he won't. But the FTR and the Young Bucks, the tag team division's in good hands. No one's complaining about the tag division. I hope I'm not as aware of the women's division out there as you are, Konnan. I know that there's a lot of great women out there, but maybe the pool's not as deep. And WWE, like they snatch all the indie talent, have snatched up so many great women. Yeah. And there's almost like if you try to name like what's a woman whose contract came up, they could have gotten like they got Miro and they got Luke Harper, maybe Deonna Purrazzo, but who else?
Yeah.
Like,
Tessa, and what about Tennille Dashwood?
And
she's right with those. I mean, is that really what you want though?
Yeah, Tennille's good. Or are you talking about Tessa?
What is Impact going to do when the good girls down there? They got a contract start coming up again too. AEW's got to start spending some money on some good female talent because the WWE is just, they're just blowing away in that. Yeah, they are. But it doesn't really matter. For the ratings. So what do you see? Like, are they going to grow or not? They do about an average 850. This time next year, Matt, where do you see them? 850.
Okay, so I'll go on record. If they're 850 now, I think COVID did set them back. I think it set the wrestling industry back. Yeah. When you look at the weekly ratings, you can see it drop. Both shows dropped huge as soon as that happened. So I'm saying they'll probably be maybe 25 to 30% higher a year from now.
25 to 30% higher.
Okay, I think so. Because that's just like what? What's 20% at 850? Like 20, 21, 210,000?
160, right?
Yeah. So you're going to be like,
averaging $1 million? Yeah, I think so.
Averaging $1 million. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll build a million. We'll say, and I think it's possible. I think actually, if they go on their own night, they will. But I still contend that their product was good enough against decent WWE programming that if they would have gone head to head on Monday night, that over the course of 5 years, we would see a product competing with the WWE and probably beating them. Because we've seen Raw until like the last couple months over the course of the year just decline the whole time because they were not under competition.
I'm inclined to believe you at this point because it'd be an A/B comparison, right? Between Raw, you flip over, you flip back, and if you're taking
both teams would be competing, both teams would be putting the effort in, and that's what I think would improve these shows is if they had better competition against each other. So that's my prediction. I think the ratings stay the exact same. I think we're up, but whatever the percentage goes up for. Whatever when they get fans back in the arenas, whatever percentage it goes up and steadies out, that'll be what it is. I'll say like probably 950 a million if they get fans back in, 850 if they don't.
If they get fans back in in a year?
But this time next year, what rating will we be doing next?
Fans back way.
But I'm just saying, when we're having this conversation this time next year, what will we say? Okay, they got up to like fans are back and they're up to 1 million fans. That's what I would say. If fans don't come back, I think they stay around 850 this time next year. Maybe lower.
Okay. All right.
So that's it. So, Matt, where can we find you at?
Oh, well, I do a podcast. It's a comedy podcast with a great comic, Corey Forster, who's with the Well-Read Comedy Troupe. It's called Through the Screen Door with Corey Ryan Forster. And he's a brilliant guy. He's got a lot of, like Batista's a fan. And, the guy who played Thanos, Brolin is a fan. And it's a fun thing. I wanted to do a non-wrestling podcast because, as you know, especially for me, a fan, it got really old having to like just dissect segments and be like, I don't like the way he turned face, or I don't like the way his outfit is. So I'm going back to enjoying wrestling. I'm making songs. I got a couple in the works right now and hopefully more. If you're going to reach out to me at Matt Kuhn Music, it's always a pleasure. I'm honored, honestly. Disco and Konnan, I think you guys are legends and you guys are great guys. And it's an honor to be on with you, quite honestly.
Cool, man.
No problem. Thank you very much. And we may talk before the year, but for sure we will talk at the year anniversary and see how our predictions came out. And I want to thank you, Matt, for being on Keeping It 100. Boom.